Hey guys, I'm here for week 42. I do have a couple guest reviews. Jeremy's going to sit in for a couple of these reviews. I think I have 6 different releases to cover, and I think it's maybe 8 different movies, so we got that going. I also have a pick a movie, I have some questions, and a very, very tiny update. As always, you can listen to the audio version over at the Shut Up Brandon feed on Podbean, or you can check it out on iTunes if you subscribe. The Screaming Toilet page, where the link is below, is where there's more information on all the releases, the place to ask your question, the place to enter the Pick a Movie competition, all sorts of stuff. That's pretty much where you want to go. The videos are hosted at YouTube, as always. So let me hop right into this. Mill Creek released these. They're coming out March 6th, I believe. And this is the first of the Hammer Films double feature here. They released a couple previously as well, but this is Maniac and Die Die, My Darling. Yeah. I actually kind of like what they're doing here, because I know that Indicator overseas in the UK released some of these, and they look like very nice releases, but they're a bit pricey. And stuff like Maniac and Die Die, My Darling are a couple Hammer kind of thrillers that I hadn't seen. And to drop that, that $20, $25, $30 on one release that you're not sure of, it's a bit pricey. But these are priced at $8 right now, $9 on Amazon. So I was like, that's awesome. Regardless, let me hop right into this. Maniac is a black and white movie that follows. It opens up. These are all kind of these Hammer movies all have these kind of nasty subject matters, although they are much more tame by today's standards. But Maniac opens up with a rape and then a revenge. Not a lot is shown. Even the killer's face isn't shown, but you know it's the victim's father. We fast forward a few years later, and this is in France. There's this American who has an argument with his girlfriend, and she leaves him there. He ends up getting taken in by the innkeeper, and he starts this relationship with the innkeeper and her daughter, who was the rape victim. We find out that the father's been put in a mental institution. The mother's not happy with it, and this weird relationship starts with the love triangle, and they start to kind of con him in and maybe breaking out the father from the insane asylum. But there's a whole bunch of twists. There's a whole bunch of turns. At the end of the day, this one, you kind of forget a lot about it, but it's a well-made movie. And the thing I really enjoy is the choice of weapon from the killer. It's actually a blowtorch. It's pretty intense, pretty scary. And there's moments where they leave and they come back and the blowtorch is just going on and is on the garage hitting something, and it's like a nice little foreshadow what's possibly going to happen. And that's basically how the dad killed the rapist originally. The twist is pretty ridiculous. There's no way you could guess it. I don't even know if they give you enough information to guess it. And the lead character is played as a likable guy, although he's, trying to sleep with the innkeeper, relationships with the innkeeper and the daughter, and you're like, this is just kind of bizarre and weird. This is like a middle-aged man here. I mean, it's a different time. It's a different place. It's an interesting movie. It looks good. I thought it looked damn good. It's a bare bones release, but it looks and sounds pretty damn good. It looks crisp, all the picture stuff. It's black and white. It looks nice, and there's like a little femme fatale stuff going on here as well.
Agnello! Sale bête. Sale bête, va.
The other feature on here, Die, Die, My Darling. This one's a little bit more interesting to me. This was a screenplay written by Richard Matheson, who I love, who wrote the legendary novella I Am Legend. Great, great novella. If you haven't read that, check it out. He also wrote the original Tiki Man story for a trilogy of terror, which is also excellent. But Die, Die, My Darling follows the story. This is, again, a mouthful of this girl visiting Britain and her original fiance. She has a new fiance now, original fiance who died under tragic circumstances, family she never got to meet. She decides to go meet them on her own to kind of like lay things at rest, get at peace for her and for the mother and the family. When she gets there, she realizes this family is odd. This is a very bizarre family. The matriarch of the family is a very overbearing, intimidating, religious zealot, and her performance is very interesting. You get to see into her backstory a little bit, and you realize she's tortured, and she's madly obsessed with her son, and she has all these twisted looks at religion, and she starts, at first she's making suggestions: you should stay, you need to stay, you need to do this, you need to do that, and before long it's leading into that direction where it's going to be held against her will. Donald Sutherland is a part of the family. He plays kind of this mute, slow guy. This is a couple years before The Dirty Dozen, so that was kind of his breakthrough role. And Peter Vaughan's in here as well. He was in a Sam Peckinpah movie, Straw Dogs, where he has one of the most brilliant lines in the movie. And the guy says, "And everybody knows nobody works well with whiskey." And he stands up and says, "I work well with whiskey." And he says, "Quiet, Tom." The guy rebuttals, "Quiet, Tom. You haven't worked a day in your life." That is one of my favorite moments. I believe that's him who says it. But he also appears, which is more in line with this movie, in Symptoms with Donald Pleasant's daughter, which is an excellent thriller as well. But this one I really enjoyed. It predates like the kind of crazy family Texas Chainsaw Massacre style where she's trying to escape. In the middle, it does hit to that point where it just feels like each escape isn't more daring than the next, and it's like we're getting into this routine here. But I actually really enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the relationships between the family. I love the performance of the lead baddie. She's great. She reminds me of maybe something like a psychotic. If you were to kind of collide Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with maybe like a Betty Davis style character. But I really like Die Die My Darling. I know that it's probably not the favorite of the two, and it doesn't look as crisp. Maybe it's not as shot as well as Maniac, but I like it better, and the ending has some Mario Bava, Dario Argento style lighting, really beautiful teals and violets and stuff, which I really enjoyed. I would recommend checking these out, especially at the price point. They look good, they sound good, especially for older movies from the 60s, from Hammer movies. If you haven't seen these ones, I would recommend checking them out.
Where do you think you're going?
You know where I'm going. The work's done.
Mine isn't.
Well, mine is. I'm going to have a few beers.
Suppose you're going to the Three Horseshoes.
Is that the only public house in this bloody town? Yes, that's where I'm going.
You're going to see that girl, aren't you? Supposing I tell Mrs. Trefoil.
You're not going to tell her, are you, Anna? You love me, don't you?
Harry!
For the first guest review here, it's actually Never Take Candy from a Stranger. I think it's actually called Never Take Sweets from a Stranger in the UK, and Scream of Fear. Jeremy actually didn't watch Never Take Candy from a Stranger, so let me hop into that one alone. This is a very strange movie. Again, a lot of these Hammer thriller movies start off with, like, they have a really, really disturbing subject matter, but they're just done in a tame way. Like, they tackle these really adult, serious, heavy issues, but they're done more tame than today's standards, like I said. But Never Take Candy from a Stranger follows this family that moves into this small town. He's the new principal, and almost immediately his daughter has this encounter with this old perverted man who has her stripped nude for candy. Unfortunately for this family, they go to the police and tell everything they know, and they want to press charges, but this guy is the father of, like, the guy who runs this town, basically. They were the founders of the sawmill. It saved the town. That's pretty much the whole gist of it. So they're basically fighting corruption here. They're fighting victim blaming, and they're tackling issues of pedophilia in this movie. In the opening, it says this is not a true story. This could happen anywhere. This is in Canada. And I was scratching my head at those lines. It's like, were they like in trouble that they had to put this in Canada? Like, they're like, well, we don't want America to know that. But I think it turns into a courtroom drama at points. It's a fairly decent courtroom drama, very standard though, with the villainous defense attorney and, you know, like the helpless prosecutor at one point, and the fair judge. But it turns into this courtroom case, and they're saying, my lord, and that, you know, it's very typical in the UK, and I imagine that it is in Canada as well, which I did not know, unless it's a mistake in the movie. But regardless, the main issue, the only real issue with the movie, it's a fairly well-made movie. It gets hokey at times, and that comes from the portrayal of the actual pedophile old man. There's points when he's shambling after the girls towards the end, and instead of, you know, being like a predator or conniving, they play him as he's mentally ill, which, you know, they are, but in a different kind of way. But he's played more like he's like a universal monster, like a Frankenstein's monster shuffling through like the woods in a rather kind of embarrassing way. And at points he seems real evil and pervy, and at other points he seems just silly and also sympathetic, which I don't like. He's portrayed very oddly, and he's just like carrying this bag of candy and just like, it's just too much. It's just very, very dated scene. But besides that, the movie looked good. It sounded good, and it's fairly impactful, especially this moment when the girl tells the parents what happened. And her innocence, she doesn't know. She tells it as a matter of fact that she doesn't know she did anything wrong. And it's just very disturbing watching the parents and grandmother's face during that whole exchange.
Stop! Help! I've dropped my purse. It's got all my money in it. 35 cents. Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
Was that your candy money?
I'll never have so much money again in all my life.
Never mind.
Never mind?
I know somewhere where you can get some candy for nothing. Come on.
The other one on here is Scream of Fear, which I do think's a stronger film. Actually, now you watched this one with me.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Go ahead.
We watched that one in two settings because he started it, and then we had to call it a night, and I was committed to watching the second half because I got hooked.
I actually had to watch it in two settings because it was so late when I put it in, and you know, I was just going to check it out, but I got sucked in, started watching. I was like, I got to finish this later. If that tells you anything, it's a very intriguing storyline. It follows the story of a a girl in a wheelchair. So you got that setting where she's in this scary situation and she's in a wheelchair, so she's a little bit more helpless than your typical, I guess, protagonist. And also she might have something mentally going on with her, so you have an unreliable narrator, unreliable main character, so you're not sure if everything that's happening is actually happening. So this sets up for some really great dream logic moments and some really good scares and some twisty-turny narrative that you don't really know where it's going. One of my favorite moments is when she first gets to this house. What happens is it's about a estranged daughter. She's coming back to visit her father after an accident, and her father's remarried. She hasn't seen her father in 10 years, and when she gets there, all's there is the stepmother, and she doesn't know where her father is, and nothing seems right. There's a doctor played by Christopher Lee. Mm-hmm. And you just know Christopher Lee's up to something. And the chauffeur. So she starts to snoop around, and she has this weird moment where she goes into the summer house at night, and she sees her father sitting there like this, and his head tilts down. And it's terrifying. She realizes in that moment he's dead. And it builds tension, and she just has this terrible scream that just echoes through the whole damn thing. Kills your ears. It's a great moment.
Yeah, they play with, like, is he dead or is he not? Is he away? I think my only real criticism of the movie is that it takes a while to cement something. It's the same scenario played over 2 or 3 times, and they could have done it in once, but it's not bad. It's pretty good. The stepmom, what was her name?
Oh, she reminds me of Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah, she was amazing in it. And she doesn't come across as like a villainess, and I think as you're watching it, you're like, oh, she's a stepmom, she has to be the villain, but she's actually really nice and sweet, and even during some of the twists, you're like, oh, okay, maybe she's not bad, maybe she is.
You're really not sure. It starts to lead somewhere where it's got to be that, but you don't want it to be that, but it has to be that. But there is a twist at the end of this movie where you won't see it coming, because the whole movie is like framed and it has this like in the opening, it has this girl drowning, they're pulling this body out, and the setting changes, and you completely forget about that opening until the very ending, which is really great that it brings it back, and you're like, duh, okay. There's a great motif about drowning and being like the fear of water. It happens several times. Car in the water, the body hidden in the water, somebody drowning in the opening. There's a lot to do with water, a lot to do with fear of drowning, and that plays in very well in the movie, and the opening and the ending come together with that. It's a really nice, well-made thriller movie, and it's definitely about that kind of time where, like, like stuff where Rosemary's Baby is being made, where you're like, I don't know if this person's crazy or telling the truth, and then of course there's going to be some twists and turns here. I thought the picture quality looked great. I thought it sounded good. There's not much to say besides that. It's a bare bones disc, but a great price point.
Yeah, great movie. I loved it.
Did you?
I did. Screaming Fear?
Yeah, I thought it was damn solid as well. I think it's called Taste of Fear in the UK. It's strange that the titles are changed. But Christopher Lee doesn't get a lot to do, but a little bit of Christopher Lee is always good in everything.
Yeah.
Unless it's maybe Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. He's fine
I've
in
never
it.
seen that.
He hates that movie. But yeah, recommend both of them. Interesting movies from the time. One dated a little bit better than the other one. But yeah, check it out.
Well, it's good you recommend both because they come together.
You got no choice. If you want one, you get the other. All right, the next one here is from Arrow Academy, and this could have been released on the Arrow label. I know it is very artsy, but it is almost a genre horror movie, man. It is a unique movie. It's by Robert Altman, director of MASH, Nashville, a bunch of other stuff. You know, he's like one of the quintessential American directors. I'm mostly familiar with MASH, of course, like I think most people are. But oh boy, Images. It's a strange, super bizarre movie that is so damn unique. It's framed by a children's story about a woman writing a children's story, but it's a big movie about schizophrenia and the fear of schizophrenia and paranoia and images. And there's a line in this movie where it says, "I don't have enough pieces to finish this puzzle." And that sums up everything. I don't have enough left in my brain to fix my life. It's a wonderfully beautiful movie. I've never seen a movie look this damn good in a long time. It's shot in Ireland.
Is it shot in Ireland?
That's why it looks so amazingly beautiful. But they wanted it to be like a location where you couldn't pinpoint where it was. A fantasy world.
Dude,
almost.
some of those locations were stunning. Like, it seemed like out of, like, straight up fantasy, like a video game.
Well,
like,
it works so well, too, because they have the fantasy book she's writing.
Right,
and
which...
she's narrating over it the whole time.
We can talk about the book in a moment.
You actually ordered the book?
I ordered the book because, like, the opening... well, throughout the whole movie, like, she's writing this book, and she's working on this book. And that's kind of why she wants to go on the retreat. Yeah. And throughout the movie, they read dialogue. And as this dialogue's going on, I'm like, man, if this were a book, I'd really want to read it. It like... made me think of, like, books I read as a kid, like Neverending Story, just something really fantastical. And then by the end of the movie, it's like, oh, it's based off a book. And, like that narration, like, the book that I don't want to say the movie's based off the book, but the book that's in the movie is a real book, and it's just a children's book. It's like 90 pages.
And she was actually writing that book when they were making it. So it might not actually be the same if you listen to the commentaries and stuff, which is like, who does the commentary? Kat Ellinger and someone else, and they do a fantastic job. They're fountains of knowledge, and they know a lot about this kind of stuff. But I loved the performance of the lead. She's just so great. She's playing dual roles. And you know what's funny is this might not be a straight-up horror movie. I would put it in the horror category because it scared the shit out of me. There's a couple moments that are so jarring and so horrific that I was just unsettling to a T. There's a point where they talk about it in the commentary, and it's probably everybody's favorite scene because it's so good. Stephen Thrower talks about it, actually, in the appreciation of on here. There's tons of features on here. Altman, partial commentary with Kat Ellinger, interviews and stuff like that with the lead actress. But the scene where... she's watching on a mountaintop, looking down at this car pull up to the cabin, and all of a sudden we cut to the person get out of the car, which is her, look up to the mountain and see that person on the mountain, and then go inside and we follow her. And it's strange that she's living these weird encounters with these three lovers, one who's her current husband, one who is a lover who's supposedly dead, and another who seems to be kind of like a very sadistic lover who has a daughter, which kind of mirrors her in a way. So it's super crazy and super weird, and it's just so much stuff going on that you, a second, third, fourth viewing, you would pick stuff up on, and there's a circular storyline, of course. All weird movies like that have to have the circular thing, but the ending actually hurt me. Like, it made me sick. It made me sick to my stomach, where it was like, oh my god. I was like, I couldn't believe that.
Mm-hmm. Like she goes through like various hallucinations, and the movie plays with you, like, is this a hallucination? Is this real? And it'll keep it dragging for some time, and, like, the anticipation really got to me, at least.
And what they do brilliantly is at one point, they'll just switch. Like, this actor's talking, and then it cuts back to him, and he's the other lover. And you're just like, wait, what's going on? Who's who? What? I don't know what's going on.
They swap the names out on one scene. It's the same guy, but we're calling them different names.
And they say that Robert Altman loved to do this kind of stuff, is the actors, like, Suzanne York plays the lead. But in the movie, her name is, Catherine? And then the actress who plays the little girl's named Catherine. So they switch their names here and there and stuff like that. They'd switch some of the actors. I love the performance of the husband. I think he is comical but endearing, and he's annoying and sometimes doesn't understand what she's going through. I don't think anybody could, but he is an interesting and funny character. He repeats himself a lot. There's a moment where he's looking for the vermouth, son of a bitch, where's the vermouth? And then she drops, I dropped the vermouth. Son of a bitch, Carol. It's funny. It's funny. It's terrifying. It's beautiful. It's mind-bending. Just a damn good movie. I would give it 4 out of 5, but if I watched it again, I'd probably give it 5 out of 5. I just don't have any negatives to say about it. Music's great too. It's by John frickin' Williams. But what they did was they incorporated this Japanese artist, those big like that. They incorporated that in there to like make it real jarring, and I think it works well.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful movie. I loved it. I'd watch it again, honestly.
Oh yeah, very good, very unique, loaded with features. Looks good, sounds good. I no complaints here. Arrow always does a great job, and this is probably one of my favorite discoveries. Man, Arrow's been on the ball lately. Scalpel was great. This was great. Scalpel was the one with the Southern Gothic storyline with the plastic surgeon. So both these movies have been tremendous. There's been a bunch of other stuff too. Highly recommend Images. I can't say enough good things about it.
Who shot off the goddamn gun?
I don't know.
Who shot off the goddamn shotgun in the goddamn house? It wasn't loaded, that's for sure. Who loaded it?
Well, I didn't load it.
You want me dead? Make me dead.
You're dead. Now just stay dead.
Do I scare you? I am a ghost. Did you call me just now?
No.
I thought I heard you talking to someone.
Oh, I was talking to myself. I do quite often. I do quite often. I do quite often.
At this moment, old Hugh is with a girl. Probably in bed by now.
You know what you are? You're a schizo.
Are you my father's girlfriend?
That's a lie.
You know what you are? You're a schizo.
It's a lie.
Schizo.
It's a lie.
Schizo.
It's a lie.
Schizo.
I'm not going to be able to finish this puzzle. There's too many pieces missing.
They should be there. I know where they are. 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 I know where they are.
The next one here is from Code Red. Yeah, I had not seen this. I've always wanted to see it. It was Panic with David Warbeck and Janet Argan from Eaten Alive and City of the Living Dead. But you guys know David Warbeck as well. Beyond, The Beyond, Black Cat, Rat Man. Yeah, David, The Last Hunter. David Warbeck's got, fistful of dynamite. He's got a nice little career on him. And Panic, yeah. This is an Italian horror movie I hadn't seen that kind of follows this melting man that goes around and kills people. Oh boy, this is a weird one. The title Panic makes the movie suggest that this is like a big contamination panic, and that's what they're going for, but it just doesn't really make any sense. Their science is really muddled. It's really silly. This whole movie is absurd. But what we have here is a guy who's working on guinea pigs and rats, and something goes wrong. This stuff flies in his face, and he becomes this melty, bubbly monster that goes around and slashes this town and puts them in a panic. Yeah, that's the story. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's not winning any awards of any sort. Warbeck's okay as always. He's dubbed. I'm not sure if he dubbed his own voice. It doesn't particularly look like it. For an Italian horror film, the picture quality is solid. I know that a lot of these prints, they work with what they got, and they worked fairly well with what they had here. It looks good to me, especially for this lower budget movie. It is very silly. There's a couple moments of gore in here, and when the monster shrieks and howls, you kind of feel sorry for him, and you're absolutely terrified of him at the same time. At the end, they go for this sympathy kind of universal monsters deal, but I'm not sure if it works. It is laughable at times, but it's always cheesy and fun at the same time as well. With the panic stuff, they're always going for this kind of don't close that beach Jaws mentality where it's the government's fault or the people in position's fault, the panic. The panic stuff is nonsense. The monster stuff is fun. At the end, they have these guys ready to drop a bomb, and, and their dubbing is particularly awful. If you love Italian horror films like me, I would give it a recommendation. It's not perfect. It's not gonna win any awards, like I said. It is cheesy. It's fairly bloody. It is essentially a slasher movie. There is some shots here and there. But it's worth checking out. There is a trailer reel on here. That's all that the film has for features of some Paul Naschy movies that are getting released by Code Red. 7 Bloodstained Orchids. That's all they has. Overall, it's a fun, stupid movie that's not going to win many over. But if you like that sort of thing, like a third-rate Incredible Melting Man, I didn't know that Incredible Melting Man could be third-rate. I guess it's on the caliber of Incredible Melting Man style. He's not exactly melting, but he's bubbly and gross, and he's in a similar vein.
There's an emergency in the laboratory and a serious risk of contamination. Have the emergency squad sent here right away.
Repeat. Serious risk of contamination. Close all safety doors. Only the emergency squad is to enter the laboratory. Notify Professor Adams and Professor Vince at once. Apply all measures of maximum security.
Let's go.
Why not? Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Say when.
Feel I'm knocking upon heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Hey, kitty, you bastard! It's you and I!
I don't deserve this.
The next one here is the Weekly Western. We're going back to the John Wayne set, yeah, which has the Searchers in it. I, chose to watch the next big movie out of here by Howard Hawks, 1959, Rio Bravo. Rio Bravo is a movie that, growing up, it was on TV every day of my life. My dad never passed it up when it was on television. I'm sure I've seen this movie before this time 100 times in bits and pieces. And that just doesn't sit well with me. I understand that, you sit down, you watch 20 minutes here, you get up there. Howard Hawks and John Ford are like the guys that everybody loves for their Western movies. They're like the iconic Western American directors. And Rio Bravo is a huge film. Again, it wasn't critically loved when it came out, similar to The Searchers, which came out 3 years prior. And this is kind of, if you watch the features, this is John Wayne trying to reinvent himself in the Western genre again, and Howard Hawks coming back to America after a stint in Europe and trying to, get back into the American film industry. Yeah, this follows the story of a sheriff and his deputy, Dean Martin, and his other deputy, Walter Brennan, who plays a crippled. Dean Martin plays this drunk who's trying to get his masculinity back, his manhood back, his skills back. John Wayne in this movie is tremendous. Anybody says John Wayne can't act or he plays the same character, I wouldn't say that. In The Searchers, you have Ethan, who is this brutal vendetta kind of guy, cruel, scary. In this one, you have John T. Chance. John Wayne plays this patriarch character. He's quiet, he's stern, but he's also funny, and there is a genuine concern for people in there. Not to mention that the Duke's comic timing in this movie is dead on. Rio Bravo is a very funny movie, to be honest, and that really helps with the pacing of the movie. It is over 2 hours long, and it's not an epic, so that's really cool that this movie has this comedy element, but it's not. It fits with the movie. It fits with the characters. It's not necessarily a comedy. It's a movie with comedy in it to make you like the characters, to make you understand the characters, and to have the relationships with these characters. If you go through life 90% of the time being serious, nobody cares to see you. Nobody wants to be around you. And when you know people well, you're more relaxed. You joke around. Even if it's tense, there's comedic elements in here, and that's exactly what's going on here. What happens is they arrest this guy who is a murderer, but he is the brother of a famous kind of rancher. This guy owns tons of property. He has a lot of power. He basically bottlenecks this town, so where they're kind of isolated. Nobody can get in, really. Nobody can get out. And they have to wait for the U.S. Marshals to come pick this guy up. But the town is surrounded by goons. Everywhere looking to get the drop on Dean Martin and John Wayne and Walter Brennan. In the meantime as well, John Wayne starts to fall in love with this girl who's traveling through, who might be a criminal herself, kind of this poker player. And there's a nice little relationship going on there. What cracks me up is the dialogue in here. As they say in the special features, Howard Hawks is one of the first guys to do the overlapping dialogue, if not the first. And the way this is done, like, I'm not saying, like, I act in some stuff, you guys know that, and the way they do the dialogue in here, the way it's staged with the Mexican character and John Wayne going back and forth and cutting each other off, and with Angie Dickinson and John Wayne, it's hard. You can tell it's hard, and they just seem to do it with ease. They're professional actors, and they're great. I love that stuff in here. It's just really funny. It's really well done, and it's just brilliant, to be honest. I really like that the movie opens up, as Peter Bogdanovich on the special features says. He says the movie opens up 5 minutes without dialogue. That works really well. It sets the movie up visually, visual storytelling, and they don't do that much anymore. I also think for 1959, I think that the actors are acting more modern than one would suggest. They are movie stars, and, some people think that a lot of movie stars don't typically act like real people or more modern. I think the acting felt real to me. Walter Brennan had me in stitches the whole damn movie. He's just never happy. He's always complaining. He's just, it's really fun. There's lots of good shootouts as well in here. And to believe it or not, 52, I believe, year-old John Wayne is agile as a goddamn cat when he's jumping around. It's kind of surprising. It's just, I've always liked John Wayne. It's just, growing up, I've seen his movies on TV a million times, and I have a handful of movies I've seen with him in it. I just haven't really looked at these with a critical eye ever. It was just part of being there. And watching these, I'm just like, man, The Duke is awesome. I just never gave him really the credit that I think he. Obviously, I liked him, but it's just watching these performances and stuff like that. I think I understand a little bit more. And watching this, it's just such a good movie. I guess that Howard Hawks would go ahead and remake this movie twice. Once with Rio Lobo and once with El Hondo. I've not seen those. I'm definitely going to check them out. My grandfather always wanted these. Like, why is Rio Bravo always on TV? I want to see Rio Lobo again. He would always complain about that. Of course, my whole family was big John Wayne fans growing up. So, I mean, I think almost every American over 40 loves John Wayne. So, it's a very good movie with actually some nice features on this release. There's a commentary involving John Carpenter, which was great to hear, show him his love for Howard Hawks, which he remade one of his movies later on, The Thing. It's not necessarily a remake, but, the original Thing from Another World. And also has interviews in here with Angie Dickinson, Walter Hill, the director, Peter Bogdanovich, and John Carpenter talking about how much they like the movie. And they get pretty in-depth. Peter Bogdanovich actually spent some time with Howard Hawks. He said, he's one of the coolest guys ever. This stuff is great. I think that the picture quality looks great. When you watch the old features and they show like what they had on DVD, the Blu-ray knocks it out of the park. I think it looks much better. But really loved it. Highly recommended. Anybody that's ever seen it would never say anything bad about it, I don't think. But I just, want to shed some light on it and kind of gush about how cool it was to actually watch the whole way through, paying attention, not being a kid. But Rio Bravo, it's obviously a winner.
Never be another like Rio Bravo, with its thundering story of raw courage against overwhelming odds, and its once-in-a-lifetime combination of today's hottest star names. You've seen nothing like them together, and here at Rio Bravo, nothing can tear them apart.
Not even a thank you do I get.
Maybe you're right, Stumpy.
Huh?
You're a treasure.
Well,
I don't know what I'd do without you.
Well,
Tired, aren't you, John T? I can fix you a nice hot bath.
All I want is a drink.
Then, this is all I can do for you?
I told him you were one of the best.
I'll tell you what I'm a lot better at, Mr. Wheeler. That's minding my own business. No offense, Sheriff.
Where are you going?
Get your hands off.
I said, where are you going?
You got no use for a man you can't depend on. One bad night and I'm done for.
Better go easy on that stuff. That makes 3 you have.
Yep. You'd be lying, because that's what I am, a soft-headed idiot. There isn't any other explanation for staying around here and inviting myself into this.
Round the bend, she'll be waiting. For my rifle, pony, and me. For my rifle, my pony, and me.
This has been one of the few peaceful scenes from the picture Rio Bravo, with John Wayne, Dean Martin, and Walter Brennan here. And a new girl, Angie Dickinson.
Tell him about Ricky Nelson.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Come and see us.
Deserves got nothing to do with it.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Okay, the pick movie of the week was Going Down the Road, the original. This has both on there. I only watched the original from 1970. This is a Canadian cult film that I had never heard of. I don't even know what you'd categorize it as. A drama, crime, comedy movie? Slice of life? I don't know. This is a weird movie. We have these two kind of, I guess, they're from a small town in Canada. And they have stars in their eyes. They go to Toronto. They're going to make it big. They're going to get a great job. They're delusional. They're bizarre. They're kind of screw-ups. They're drunks. And we follow these two kind of... half-wit losers. I don't know if it's just supposed to be a depressing comedy or what. Go through their life and just make terrible decisions. This is actually taken from a print, so the quality is not spectacular. And I'm not sure if the out-of-shot focus is because it's budget or because of the print where they got it from. So there's that too. It doesn't look phenomenal. It doesn't look awful, but some of the moments it looks very, very out of focus.
Well, they say at the beginning of the movie that the film quality and the sound are a product of its time, which I don't even know what that means.
That means it was low budget and it's probably been sitting in a warehouse somewhere rotting.
Probably nothing they could do, yeah.
Probably not. But for what it is, it looks pretty good. I don't really know what to say about this movie. I don't have many positive things. I know it's a cult movie. I understand. There's lots of slice-of-life moment movies that, like, I would say Hard Times is a slice of life. But it's interesting characters. It's characters I like to watch. Don't need to like them, but I want to be able to watch them. And these guys are just pathetic. Like, and that's, I guess, the point. And I'm not sure what the movie's trying to say is to say that the big city's horrible and it'll eat you up, or that, you know, the people from the small town area are just scummy people or bad people. I don't know what the message is here, but the lead guy is very selfish. He's very what's the word? Not obsessive, but controlling.
Controlling?
Not controlling. He is controlling, but he's possessive over his friend. Not in a sexual way. He's just possessive over his friend, like he must do all these things for you. Can't leave. He tells the guy to leave his pregnant girlfriend. All sorts of things like that. And eventually it leads to these guys jobless and looking and committing crime. And I don't know what this was going for. You?
Yeah, they kind of like take turns like dragging each other down, like...
Yes, they're both just kind of dragging each other down, and it's just like watching them be in their self-pity, and it's depressing. And if I had to explain this movie, I guess that's the point. And maybe I'm not seeing the point, and maybe I just don't like it because I'm not seeing it. Someone could explain this to me. I just don't particularly like watching these characters. They're not interesting. They're miserable. And it's aggravating watching them do stupid things. But this movie is literally, if you're ever young and you get drunk and you just have a hangover, really sick all day, and you regret your decisions and you feel like a big piece of crap. That's what you feel like. And at first, maybe it is kind of comedic at times. Like they're in the factory, they're going out drinking, and then you just watch these people just drink their lives away and make terrible decisions. What I liked about it is SCTV, the Canadian answer to SNL, filled with a bunch of very famous comedians, John Candy, Joe Flattery, Harold Ramis, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, a bunch of other people. I actually made a skit about it, and I actually had one of the women who's in this movie in the skit, Jane Eastwood. I believe that was her. Mm-hmm. But the skit's great. It's about 11 minutes long, and the music choices in the original movie are kind of like folk movie music. Very, very strong choices they made, and that's probably the best part of the movie is the music. And SCTV uses this really silly song, "There's a Rainbow in Toronto," and they keep singing it. And it's just so weird that the movie's like these guys, the original movie is like, well, let's go get jobs. There's tons of jobs in Toronto. But in the SCTV skit, they're just all these like high paying jobs. Like I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a neurosurgeon, and they're going to Toronto to look for jobs. It's super weird. I don't even know the point of that. But, I'm not really a fan of going down the road. It's just bothersome and not fun to watch. And I know every movie doesn't need to be fun to watch. I love 70s exploitation movies. I love 70s downbeat movies. Images isn't fun to watch at times. It's fun to watch the camera and what they do with it, but I mean it has its moments of horrific stuff. It's just interesting. This just doesn't interest me. I'm sorry. I wish I liked it. I just don't. You?
Yeah, it couldn't keep my attention. Like I don't know. It just kind of drug on a bit too long. Like, it would sit on somebody's face for like 3 minutes out of focus and nothing would happen. No dialogue.
I mean, I think it is as popular because it's a Canadian low-budget movie, and there wasn't really anything like that being made in Canada at the time. And I can understand that being the first is something that no one... You're always going to be the first. You're always going to be remembered for that. But, the two leads in the movie, one looks like the tall, skinny California raisin, and the other looks like Mangala from Surf Nazis Must Die. But the guy from the other lead, not the Raisins guy, is in a bunch of Clint Eastwood stuff. He's an outlaw Josie Wales, so he's a fairly famous actor. And this director actually went on to do more movies, and it was co-written by William Fruitt, who did like Death Weekend and Funeral Home, a bunch of other stuff. Spasms, I believe he did Funeral Home, yeah. But he did a bunch of stuff. Spasms with Oliver Reed, Death Weekend with Don Stroud, which is a really cool rape revenge movie actually. So he didn't direct this one, but he wrote it. So.
You know what it made me think of, and I didn't see it when we were watching it. I can't think of the title. But we watched it a long time ago. Is it Shell Shock?
Combat Shock?
Combat Shock. Like, it's really depressing. It's like, I think it's like a war vet.
Yeah, that's Combat Shock.
Yeah.
I love Combat Shock. Combat Shock is like the Vietnam eraser head.
Yeah. It was like, imagine watching that movie, but without the payoff or without any sort of like contention.
Or without the Nintendo 8-bit soundtrack.
Yeah, just it's like 2 hours of just kind of like, oh, God.
I don't think it's necessarily an unwatchable movie.
It's not unwatchable.
I think it's interesting, but it doesn't interest me.
It's a very low energy movie, and
low energy.
The acting's fine. The acting is
acting feels
fine.
real.
Yeah.
It all feels real, especially the side characters.
Yeah, it feels legit.
Just
it doesn't go anywhere.
It's a hangover of a movie.
Yeah.
That'll be 4807, sir.
Oh, you shouldn't have rung it right up. You know, we're together.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I'll start taking these things out to the car. Okay, Ralph? And you settle up with him.
Oh, I'll just take this out and I'll come back and I'll pay.
Here, let me give you a hand.
No, it's all right. There's no trouble. It's fine. No trouble. It's all right.
Come on. Let's get suspicious. Come on. I'm here.
Hey, you guys gonna pay for this or what?
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute, okay?
Hey, come back here! Hey! Hey, come back here!
What are you doing to it?
Get out of here! Clown's trying to pull a fast one on me! Joey! Hey! Alarma! Get enough! Joey! Get him down! Take him! Okay, come on.
You stupid, dumb kid. Why don't you give up a couple of lousy groceries? Come on, get up. Come on. Get in there.
Go! Come on!
Come on.
Okay, if you want to be entered in the Pick a Movie, as always, just leave a comment on the Screaming Toilet link below, say enter me in the Pick a Movie, or just leave it on YouTube. I'll find it. Let's see who's going to win this one. Nick Mua is going up next. I don't remember the movie he picked, but I have it all saved and everything. Let's see who's going to win this one. We have Adam Weber again, who picked Carnage Park last time. Congrats, Adam. Let me know what you want to pick. And let's get into the Q&A. James Grimmer, I'm sorry I missed your question last time, but here it is. Do you give a movie a second chance if you didn't like it after seeing it the first time? I have found that with rewatching a movie, my opinion can change on it, and I think that is because I wasn't in the mood for it when I first watched it. I completely agree. Or sometimes you'll go back after 5-10 years and you'll notice things you're like, man, I do not like this anymore. There's a handful of movies I do not think I would like at all if I rewatched them. And there's other stuff that I'm thinking like, everybody loves that movie and I don't like it. I've got to be wrong. I'm just wrong. I just need to revisit it. Yeah, I do agree that mood can ruin a movie sometimes if you're in a bad mindset. Do you tend to watch something if you're in the mood for it, or do you sort of plan out what's going to watch for reviews? I do watch some stuff for reviews, but every once in a while I'll get a hankering, like Panic, that showed up, and I was just like, I'm going to watch Panic. I haven't seen a good Italian horror flick in a long time that I haven't seen. So, it's 50-50. Nick, if you had to lend your face to merchandise, what product would you prefer? Anything that would give me something I like for free. Chicken wings? Lifetime supply of chicken wings? Or something like bottled water? Because then you just would never ever have to buy bottled water again? I'm thinking as a cheap person. I'm not thinking as like a, ethical standpoint here. I'm just thinking of trying to get stuff like that. Like, if I have to, my face has to be on something, I better enjoy it myself, and they'll probably hook me up. You've done fun and freaky stuff on camera, but how much is too much? Real mutilation to your body? Real self-harm to you or someone else? I mean, sometimes you get carried away in an action role or a movie and you'll, like, move and punch, and somebody might get hurt or somebody might get choked on accident for real a little bit sometimes when you get extreme. I know that Giovanni Ribisi, the actor, said, so-and-so in City of the Living Dead wasn't a real actor. Was it Luigi Pistelli? Somebody like that, because they hurt him. And sometimes you get into it. Maybe I'm not a real actor. I know that we've, in RIP, we're doing like fight choreograph where we're like picking each other up. And, well, he's picking me up and stuff like that. But I know sometimes you get carried away. But real mutilation, like Bunny Game, that's too much. That's not a movie anymore. Or real sex, I understand if there's a couple in there. Real sex doesn't not make it a real movie to me, but I wouldn't personally do it unless it was, somebody I was in a relationship with on camera. But real sex with people you're not in a relationship with and real mutilation or really hurting people and stuff like that, that just crosses the line to me. It's just like you're not making a movie anymore, you're just making it for real. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but sometimes, it's good to have like a certain sense of guerrilla filmmaking to it. Like, I like stealing shots. I like going out and shooting it out and about, and it looks dangerous. I like that kind of stuff. But when you're just, like, cutting yourself for real, it's like, this is just not right. Adam Weber, what can you tell me about Stalker, the Polish film, I believe it is? What sort of film is it akin to? I actually never watched Stalker. I know it's just got a Criterion. I had the other release. I know it's very long. It's very sci-fi. It's very bizarre. And some people love it. Some people hate it. Christopher Dalliere, question. What movies would you like to see on Blu-ray that currently are not? Martin. That would be a great one. I'd love to see Martin, The Supernaturals. I just reviewed a bit of Blood Salvage. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of the Hong Kong stuff, Untold Story, Ebola Syndrome, Red to Kill, stuff like that. Some stuff I haven't seen that's on Hong Kong Blu-ray that I'd like to check out for the first time. What are your favorite movies that no one ever talks about, or hidden gems, so to speak? I always talk about every chance I get. Cullibus. I love Cullibus, and I love The Item. Every chance I get to talk about those are two I don't hear any love for. Skinned Alive. I know some people have seen it, but I love the Tempe's movie, Skinned Alive. Bloodletting, I'm sure people talk about, but those are the ones I just have a deep love for that I think are hidden gems. And Robot Ninja as well. I'm not sure if they're obscure anymore. Timothy Hayes. Dave, how did you get into acting? Basically, I was reviewing, and as a kid, I always liked to act with my cousin and do skits and just be characters and do nonsense. Had high school drama classes. But as a reviewer and stuff, I realized that my friend Dustin, we met at a convention. I was like, oh, you're from Toledo. I'm from Toledo. I saw that one of his movies. And I was like, I know that person in that movie. That's a friend of mine. And we started talking, and I was like, if you ever need anybody for a small role or you're screwed, I can come in and help. Like, somebody drops out. And that's what I did. I did it for a movie, The Collection, like Volume 7 or something, came in for a short. I guess we got along very well. He had me for Bath Salts, Easter Casket, and then we just became really good friends, and I just come in whenever he calls me. Do you like teen sex comedies at all? I love Revenge of the Nerds. More of the modern ones I didn't really get into, I like them just fine. Revenge of the Nerds movies are some of my favorites. They're the first two. This might be a bit before your time since you're a bit younger than me, but did you ever watch USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried? No, it was a little before my time. I did used to watch Monster Vision, though. John Wilhelm, cover artwork on a movie release is key. What are some of your favorites? I talk about it all the time. Neon Maniacs. Love that cover art where they're peering around the labels. I adore the Return of the Living Dead Part 2 cover art. Like I said that last time, it's one of my favorites. There's so many good cover arts. I love the Return of the Living Dead Part 1 cover art. I love the zombie. Just so simplistic. Just that gross zombie on the front smiling. But originally when you watch it, like, to see the cover, you're like, you don't think he's like just coming up from the grave to bite. You're like, is that zombie smiling? It looks so cheesy and so gross at the same time. That's one I love. What are some other ones that just always caught my attention? Anytime you see a house in the background with like the warm glow in the windows, but like something creepy, dark and blue in the front, like the warm glow in the windows, like the Offspring with the house and the creatures ripping through it. These are just posters I have on my walls that I always liked. Always adored the Spookies one, stuff like that. Cover arts are key, to be honest. I love that. But let's get into the Q&A. Lots of great questions this time, guys. Thanks a lot. We only have 3. Let's get into the update. 3 movies. We have Love Butcher, which I've never seen. I got this used on eBay. As far as the features are, an audio commentary by director Doug Jones, moderated by R.A., the Rugged Man. And the funny thing about Doug Jones is there's 2 directors named Doug Jones. I made this mistake before. I thought the movie Murder Lust was directed by the same Doug Jones. It is not. There's 2 different Doug Jones. They're on Internet Movie Database. It is incorrect. They're 2 different guys. This Doug Jones did a lot more movies than the other Doug Jones. But Murder Lust is a great movie from Intervision. But this Doug Jones from Love Butcher, he did a bunch of other stuff as well. I've not seen that movie. I have the DVD, but then we have Tam Lin, which was an Olive release. This is the only movie that Roddy McDowall directed. I don't think there's any features on this release, but yeah. And then finally, this is pretty cheap. It is The Misery from Scream Factory. I have not seen this in years. Rob Reiner movie. To see my slipcovers ripped, but last time I sent it back to get a new one. I don't really care that much about slipcovers. I didn't get a slipcover, so ripped slipcover's better than no slipcover. But the special features here, they got a bunch of stuff. They got a brand new 4K restoration from original film elements, interview with director Rob Reiner, interview with special effects artist Greg Nicotero, audio commentary with Rob Reiner, audio commentary with screenwriter William Goldman, Misery Loves Company featurette, Mark Shaman's musical Misery Tour featurette, Diagnosing Annie Wilkes featurette, Advice for the Stalked featurette, Profile of a Stalker featurette, Celebrity Stalkers featurette, Anti-Stalking Laws featurette, and trailers. That is a lot, man. I haven't seen this in years. This is a really good movie, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure James Caan and Kathy Bates. That made Kathy Bates a star, but it's 2 great actors in a movie that's pretty damn great, pretty unique, and a Stephen King classic, I guess I'll say. But I appreciate you watching the videos and everything. If you have comments, concerns, leave a comment. Let me know how to improve. Let me know to get better. Make suggestions. Also, the more you spread this, the more you interact with me, the more I'll put into it, the more we'll both get out of it, hopefully. But thank you. And as always, you guys have a good one. Okay, guys, here's a DVD tour room. First, the desk is in the way and some other things. These are all in the basement. They're on cinder blocks. There's a dehumidifier running all the time. It's pretty much pitch black in here. Keep the sun and the light away from, the sun and the light and the water away from anything. So let's start. I have these in mostly, a big chunk of them in company order. Sorry about that. We have some Blue Underground. Now, I have put some of these away that I do own on Blu-ray. So this is not everything. I have a storage place for a bunch of them. Little dressers down here. This is Blue Underground continued. Again, this is great for if you see. I have upgraded some of these. I just haven't had a chance to put them away or until I need to. But if you see something here, Synapse, that you want me to review for the Pick a Movie, keep that in mind if I haven't covered it yet. So when you pick one. So there is some glare here, but these are still Synapse. We're going to hit Mondo Macabro soon. Love the red cases. We're on Earth right now. Lots on Earth stuff. Now we're in Impulse. There's really no rhyme or reason why they're like this. Now we're in Panic House. What else is in there? Now we're in the Massacre video. We're going up to the second shelf. More Massacre. We're into Intervision. And now we're into Severin. Now we're into 1-7. Shameless. Or is it? That's Shameless, yeah. And just some MPI. Ooh, this chair is nice here. We have some Anchor Bay. There's a terrible glare there. Some of these I have upgraded. There's some UK Anchor Bay. Manitou, I think that's out of print. Now we're going down to the bottom. Did I do this row yet? Some Bava, we have some more Anchor Bay. Newer Anchor Bay titles. Going up to the top. Some screeners sitting there. And now we're into the Shriek Show. Sorry about that. Let me point that away just a little bit. I think it's a little better. Still in the Shriek Show. Fresh meat Shriek shows. Now we're in these, Shriek Show box sets. I don't have them all, but I have most of them. And if I didn't have them, I have all the titles on other stuff. We have Tokyo Shock. Exploitation Digital. It's weird that one of the SS packs is in Shriek Show, I think, and one is in the Tokyo Shock. Or is it Guilty Pleasure? I don't know, but I have both of them. They're just both not together, yeah. Oh, they are. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We have Guilty Pleasures, and we have some Vinegar Syndrome DVDs. And we have these weird, bizarre Fortune Star DVDs. We have Artsploitation. Down here it's continued. We have the Shout Factory stuff, or Scream Factory, Shout Factory. Got Corman titles. Then we have the ISC Scream Factory stuff. Then we just have, I believe, the IFC Midnights alone. Some more here. Now we're in just the IFCs. Ooh. And now we're into Dark Sky. What are we in now? Still in Dark Sky. Visions of Hell, Van Beber. Now we're hit the Scorpion DVDs. Still dark down here. Let me see if I can give you some light. Sorry about that. Scorpion. More Scorpion. Then we have some Code Red DVDs, of course. Then we have the Cult Epic Start. Oop. Then we have No Shame, a few of them. Which I always thought was a really cool label. It's a shame it disappeared. Then we have TLA. Danger After Dark, TLA, all the same guys. We start into the Image titles. There's a lot of them guys. That guy's from Slimy Little Bastards. Still in some Image. Now we're into Trauma, of course. Tons of Trauma up there. Then down here we have the start of Mia, which is actually a cool company as well. We go up here. Continue the Mia. We hit into what is this? Camp Motion. We're in Dimension Extreme. We're in the Dark Frame collection. We're in Full Moon now. Blu-rays was in last week's video, so if you like what you see. Now we're in Elite. Remember Elite, guys? Now we're in the Criterion DVDs. Now we're in some Arrow DVDs. Some Magnet DVDs. some ones that couldn't exactly get sorted, some Raro DVDs, some Tartan Asian Extreme and Tartan. Then we have all the rare flicks. They should have been over with this, the Media Blaster stuff. We have some Redemption. We have some new Concord titles. We have some Warner Archive titles. We have some Subversive, Tempe, Grindhouse, BCI. Then we have some Shock DVDs. Then we have some EC Entertainment, some oddball Chinese labels and stuff like that. Discotheque, Laser Universe, I believe that was that company. Then we have Wellgo, Arts Magic. We have some Wild Eye. What else do we got? Cinema E-Pooch or E-Pooch? Tons of them. And we got some SRS, which should be a while, guys, because I have a lot of SRS. We have some Midnight Releasing, Brain Damage. We have some BCI, some Retro. Coming up next, what's it? Vicious Circle, Strand, Something Weird, Video Outlaw, what was that? Newer. It's called something else now. Shockorama. We have some of these Toxic Shock bootlegs of some really, really crazy titles. We have some more bootlegs. This is the bootleg section. And if they are released on Blu-ray or DVD, I upgrade them and buy them immediately and toss out the old bootlegs. That's how I justify when I buy bootlegs. So some of this stuff might have been released, but I don't really think so. Halo 8, Toe Tag, Maggot Films. Now we're just in the rest of the alphabetical order stuff, which will take a while. After Dark, Verniers, Achumutante, Amityville movies. Gotta hurry up, we'll probably run out of batteries or space. Berserker, that's an import. Old slasher movie I never got a chance to watch. Rolling Bees. Taking a lot longer than I expected. I'm not going to show the VHSs in here. I might do that for another video, if that's okay. We're only in C's, guys. And I'm sure people can't see it as well. They're like, slow down. But this is just kind of a gist of it. Collective. Congo. So many movies called Creep. Outfiles and ghouls. That's me moving this little rod that I'm holding this damn thing by. So many titles that I'll never get to watch. Gonna die before I watch them all. Unless I quit my job right now. Some of these, like, I have the Blu-rays now. I could probably start boxing these if I ever needed the room, but I don't think the DVD section's gonna grow that much bigger. Now we're in this big shelf here. It's a nice hammer set. I've always liked it. Home stretch, guys. Some of these probably aren't like horror, they're just genre or exploitation or have horror elements and they got tossed in with the horror. Sometimes there'll be spaghetti westerns in here as well, stuff like that. I just kind of keep it all together. The M's. Bunch of different copies of Murder Set Pieces. N's, O's. P's. Go over to the home stretch here. It's another shelf over in the corner. Some VHS overload. This whole shelf, double-side VHS, not going to show that for now. And we have some non-horror stuff over here. A lot of which I've upgraded on Blu-ray. Or on Vudu. And then I have storage. Maybe I'll show that sometime too. And this bottom shelf, I'm going to bring in another shelf and take care of that. But as you can tell, it's overflow. But that's what I got. I hope you guys liked what you've seen. It's probably way too long.